crazy. You know, this isn't a day. Well, it is a day.
It is a day, but it's not.
Day.
It doesn't have a number.
It doesn't have a number.
Yeah.
I don't know how to start when we don't say a number. Huh.
Well, let me at least start with the hike in. It was, I think maybe 100 yards?
Oh, and it was pretty tough.
It was tough.
It was tough. Wet, you know, rained a little bit this morning.
Yeah, you had to clear some debris off the trail, but
Yeah.
there was no ascent.
Yeah.
I think about 25 feet of descent.
Yeah. But luckily I remembered the 1 foot in front of the other thing.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
No,
I did.
no falls.
I did. No falls, no trips. Well, hey everybody. It's been a long time since we've done a video. We're kind of out of practice here.
We are.
Yeah. It's been roughly a month now, just a tad over a month since we got off the trail. And way past due here, but we thought we would take time to just kind of look back, summarize a few things from our trip, and you know, go from there.
Yeah, kind of like put a little, not a bow on it, but wrap things up for it.
Yeah, yeah.
So why don't we give them the summary numbers first? For
So statistician, what kind of numbers did we have?
I think we hiked a total of 21 miles.
Yeah, somewhere around there, yeah.
2,200 plus miles, and give us about 430 to wrap up. We had a start date of March 5th. We got off the trail around April 26th or so, in that range. 7-week break, back on the trail 6/8, and then we finished up. I think we hit the border September 9th. Yeah.
And then had to come back the next day to the Hearts Pass on September 10th.
So 150 days or so.
Yeah, 149 days to hiking to the border, and an extra day back to Hearts Pass. So, but pretty interesting trip.
Yeah.
You know, Joe and I have been talking a lot about, you know, just the trip in general, and you know, some of the stuff of. Just the trip in general. So we'll go through a few things here.
Yeah, we will. And then anything on the gear is relative to gear. We're doing separate gear videos, so look for those, and that'll give you some for those gear nuts or gear heads who want to look at stuff. You'll want to go watch those videos.
Yeah, and I'm a gear nut, so I'll be watching those videos.
Yeah, I'm going to watch yours for sure.
Let me just start out by just saying one of the things, and we'll kind of jump around here just a little bit, is to say thank you to everybody. Both to the people that were subscribed and all the wonderful comments and just things that were inspiring to us to kind of keep us going. And then for the folks that came out for the Trail Angels, the people that went way out of their way to give us a hand to get to, you know, where we needed to be, or just to help us out in general. I can't say enough about that. So thank you.
Yeah, it's hopefully we've acknowledged all those people in the other videos, so rather to sit here and go through 20 minutes of going through it, because with just so many people helped us, not only, you know, Trail Angels, but then other hikers who embraced us and helped us through our journey.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, where do we begin?
Let's talk about our favorites.
Okay.
You know, talk about the favorite things of the trail.
Okay.
And I think we've talked about it throughout the hike of what some of our favorite things were, and I know for both of us, the most favorite thing was the people. That's what was the most wonderful aspect of this entire journey.
Yeah, and again, not just the Trail Angels, but all of the hikers that we met. You know, one of the things, if you've never done a through hike, one of the things that just is amazing is the people. You know, if your fellow hikers, everybody's just focused on hiking, and everybody's focused on, hey, how can I help you out? You know, I can't count the number of times there were comments like, hey, I'm running low on food, and there'd be like 4 or 5 people reaching, hey, do you need an extra bar? Do you need this? Or, you know, hey, do you need to borrow this? You know, and certainly, you know, when I lost my poles, you know, Joe was more than willing to help me out, which I was glad to see.
Yeah.
But things like that, where just people are just focused on hiking and helping each other, just a true testimony to humanity. So really cool to see.
Yeah, I remember I had this sweatshirt when I was about 8 years old, and it said WABBITS, a loosely knit organization of fast-moving fun seekers. And in a way, that the community that's out there on the trail is a loosely knit organization of fast-moving fun seekers. Maybe some faster than others, but it's this whole cobbled together group of people through social media, Facebook, formal organizations, and just people that see themselves as hikers, and they get out there and they share this common experience from different perspectives, and it's so wonderful. And you know, as an example, that whole thing was having met Hazel at the San Diego airport on the beginning of our journey, and to have her be such an integral part of it through most of the journey, and at the end, and to develop a relationship like that in your through hike is amazing.
Yeah, just amazing, So if there's ever a reason, or the number one reason I'd ever want to do a through hike again, or some long section hike, is the people part of it. Just getting back into that community. I was talking to somebody the other day, and same thing about, hey, what do you miss the most? And it's the people.
Yeah.
You know, it was easy once you got into the routine of hiking and the hiker community, and just everything. It flowed.
Yeah.
And it was just a nice, you know, enjoyable thing that I certainly miss.
Yeah, and you think about it, when you're on the trail, when you see another person either coming your way or you're catching up with them, whatever, and I get excited, you know, whether I know them or not. It's just, oh, there's another person on this journey,
right.
and then to meet somebody new, it's always it's heartwarming, and we see the same in other hikers.
Yeah, and we had the opportunity to kind of hike with some different groups along the way. You know, in the beginning, Denim Dan and John, and then Hazel certainly through it all, and then at the end, River Dancer and Togo, and you know, you just had these little groups of, you know, referred to as tramleys or trail families, and just people. Then you would kind of leapfrog Graham and Lars and
Patrina
and it's just so cool. You know, you just
Nash, Easy, just all these folks that we've met, and
and every time you'd meet up again, it's like, hey, how you doing? You know, like PCT days, where we talked through some of those, but seeing some of the hikers we hadn't seen in a while.
Hops and Sorry when they were there.
Yeah, Hops and Sorry, and anyways, that's definitely the favorite part of all that.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Now, from a trail standpoint,
I think my favorite area of the trail would be up in the Sierra, and my least favorite part of the trail was the Sierra.
Double award.
Yeah,
for the
double
Sierra.
award. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. You know, there was the views and stuff in the Sierras were just incredible, with all the snow, just a pristine, you know, just blanket of snow, and no light pollution up there. So the stars were incredible, cool, crisp air,
great water, and just the you know, it could be just, it was serene and peaceful at night. We didn't have too much in the way of bad storms, but I think one of the reasons it's also my least favorite was we had started with snow so early on the journey. Is that I was kind of over snow by the time we'd gotten to Sierra. I figured, all right, we'll get in here and we'll get through it. And it was just so exhausting. It was like, you know, I've been wanting to backpack on dirt. So
we like dirt.
Yeah, so that's why, you know, it's a double-edged sword.
It is
amazing.
It is, amazing. And you know, we've talked about it. We did some things that mountaineering-wise that I hope to never have to do again. But what an experience, and I'm so glad that we did what we did. As far as we went through about 150 miles of it, went through all the major passes, so we got a good taste for what that was all about. And I'm glad we did that, but I also think we made the right decision for us to go ahead and move forward from there to, you know, jump up to Quincy and start hiking, backpacking again.
And it gave me a real appreciation for the things that we heard and focused on before we ever got out on the trail, where they talked about conditions and snow and best practices and things. And then having gone through it, I really developed a thorough appreciation that you really, I'm glad we did, but listen to the experienced people and the experts that are telling you what you're about to encounter if you're going to go into a heavy snow year. And that was, so having listened to that, and we were more or less prepared going in areas where maybe we were coming up short. We were lucky enough to be hiking like the Skeletor and had the benefit of their experience. So, but that was one of the things we've seen a lot of other hikers doing as well, is if they would try to make sure they went in there with other experienced hikers so they could bridge the gap between their experience and what they really needed to encounter or to have, you know, with what they're encountering at that time.
Right. You know, again, one of the things we talked about and we did was again jump ahead, and one of the concerns we had noted was that we wanted to jump ahead such that we weren't in Washington in this time of year right now, which is probably where we would be, fighting snow and the bad weather. And in fact, I just saw a posting today that there was, I think, 6 inches of snow at Arts Pass and 8 inches up the Windy Pass, which is the last hill before the border. I'm thinking, oh man, I'm so glad, because I think I would have pulled my hair out what's left of it. You know, talking about being tired of dealing with snow.
It'd be like, no.
Yeah.
And it'd be you'd have to have the right gear again to be dealing with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
But the other favorite parts, truly enjoyed, you know, the desert area where you're just open, you know, hiking out in the open, just beautiful views. Certainly in Oregon, Goat Rocks,
Goat Rocks, yeah, that was great.
Washington was beautiful in the sense that it had a wide variety of things.
It had some great long-range views as well, very dramatic.
And forest, for me, I love walking through a forest. I love the trees, I love the canopy, I love the intimacy of a forest, so kind of getting a little taste of that in the Washington area. And then the other part I'd say that least favorite was the burn areas. And both from a standpoint, you know, it was usually hot when we walked through there, but then just sad, you know, seeing what that forest will never grow back before, you know, for my lifetime.
Not any significant way in our lifetime at all.
And just seeing in some of those areas just total devastation. So. And
then to flip that 180, like when we talked about Sierras, so you go through some of these burn areas, and there was it warms your heart though when you see it already beginning to be reborn, and the little saplings coming up and stuff like that, and you go, look, it's starting, and that part really felt good, that natural cycle of life. But some of those areas have just been cooked so bad, there was nothing. It was like the soil had just been cooked.
And it was like the surface of the moon. You know, nothing there. So that was kind of that part of it was tough. But I like the variety, except for hiking on snow. That's probably my least favorite. But again, I got the experience. I know what it's about. And I can relate to some people when they talk about that. So that kind of leads to probably a question of what would we do different if we were to hike the PCT again. And Joe and I have talked a lot about this. It's hard to answer because it's so dependent upon what's going on that year. And this year in particular was just a strange year overall. The amount of snow they had. A hurricane hit California for the first time in 80 years. We had all those atmospheric river storms coming through in the beginning. And before we even flew out to start our journey, despite all the atmospheric rivers and all the snows being dumped, you didn't know what was going to happen, because it could still be that, all right, it stops like that, and the weather shifts back to a more normal pattern, and now you're just dealing with snowpacks up. But it just kept on coming. So I think for any hiker going out, and for us too, is you have to make decisions based upon the information you have on hand at the time, and what your skill levels are, and what you can get done. And probably the only thing I think we could have done, given the dates that we were allowed by the PCT, we had the early start dates. The only thing that would have probably done differently for me would be probably not have a large break scheduled in the middle of it. Even though that kind of worked out for us, because it let us, you know, get off the trail for a while we hoped some of the things settled down with the snow and everything else. And it helped us some, especially when we flipped up north. I mean, we had better conditions, but it sort of handcuffs you in a way. So if you are planning a through hike, I would say try not to plan a big chunk in the middle that you know you're going to be gone, because it may take away some of the flexibility in trying to get it done. But I'm still glad I took the trip I did. I had a great time, but it does handcuff you just a little bit. It does, and I think that's the big thing again, as we were starting to look, when we came back and we started looking at the time frame, again, getting through the Sierras as slow as we were going, the time frame of getting into Washington. If we'd have been there 7 weeks earlier, again, I don't know, because the snow was so bad. So again, just a unique year that I'm not sure there was a good answer there. And even for the people that were trying to flip ahead, they flipped right back into snow, or jumped right back into snow. So I don't know, just a strange year.
It was, because they're really, if we didn't have that break, we would have been there to April 26th in Kennedy Meadows South, and what are we going to do? And if we would have tried to plow through, would just it'd been brutal. If we'd flipped up, we'd still be in snow. So
Right.
I would say something like that again. We would, if faced with those same conditions, hindsight being 2020, and if we didn't have a break scheduled in there, it might have been, let's find a way to do an alternative permitting process. So maybe do a later start. Fine tune when we started on the PCT.
Yeah, I think that is one of the challenges, and certainly this year really played out. The whole permitting part, I mean, it's a necessity. Certainly want to take care and make sure we're not overloading resources and those kind of things. But it does push you into doing some things in time frames like we did that probably weren't ideal. But I don't know what the answer is for that, because you want to try to, again, take care of the environment.
Yeah.
At the same token, you got to make sure that you can, the time frames work. But anyways, and it is what it is.
Yeah, and we watched so many other people wrestle with the same issue.
Yeah.
And come up with, it was just amazing the different solutions people had. From, all right, I'm off the trail, I'm going to Arizona, and I'm gonna hike the Arizona Trail, or they would go do the CDT, or they'd switch over to the AT, or they went to Oregon. There was just
Right. Yeah.
everybody finding, they flip up, hike back, and
I think that was one of the interesting things is when you talk to people, there was no, normally it would be like, hey, when'd you start out? Hey, you started here, hey, great, and you kind of sync up. But then it was like, yeah, well, then I flipped to here, I flipped to there, and I went over here, and it was very rare to find people with the same story. Everybody kind of took a unique approach to what worked for them. And so I think everybody had some different experiences, again, based on those choices that they had. So anyways.
Yeah, and very few that just went straight on through. John was one of those folks who just, he I don't know what the right word, I want to say, he was already, I want to say man up, but he manned up the whole way, but he just found a way to keep on keeping on and get through.
Well, and again, I think that's where, for folks like John and others that enjoyed the challenge of that, again, God bless them, but for others, there was an enjoyment in it, so why do it?
Yeah.
And then the other part is the skill set component of it. For those that, didn't have the skill set, it was totally unsafe for them to go in and do those kind of things. And hats off to them for making the right decision and being honest with themselves.
Yeah.
Because you could see where you could easily get into trouble, and we heard a lot of it. A lot of people that got into trouble.
And experienced people getting into trouble because of the nature of what they encountered.
And so again, just a wild year.
Yeah. So we want to quote Christie again. Make good choices, and good choices for you. It doesn't. Somebody else's good choice for them is not the same as a good choice you should make for yourself.
Yeah, and I think again that's where whatever you do, you have to be confident in your abilities and your ability to make decisions around that, and don't let people sway you. Because we also heard that from some hikers. Yeah, I ended up, I wanted to stay with the group, so I ended up doing this, and I created some problems, either injury-wise or ultimately they got off trail because they just weren't enjoying it. Or, anyways, it's a really tough thing. You just have to make sure that you are continuing to look at yourself and what's right for you.
Yeah, exactly. The world will not come to an end if you stop your hike.
It won't?
If you alter your plan.
You always told me it would. Oh. So one of the questions we got as we were hiking, and people knew that we had done a through hike of the AT a couple years ago, a lot of comments or questions about, well, how do the two trails compare? Which one did you like better? And it was a tough one to answer. Again, back to that point, what a strange year.
Yeah.
In normal years, you didn't have the snow at the levels that we had at the PCT, so no doubt the snow was a big difference.
Big difference.
You have some snow on the AT depending on when you start. Most people, if they're starting in March on the AT, will run into some snow in the Smokies.
Yep.
But it's not, you're not in it long.
Yeah, you're not in doing a lot of technical winter mountaineering when you're in the Smokies.
Yeah, you don't have an ice axe, and
yeah, it just sucks.
Yeah, you got your micro spikes probably, but it just
It'll
sucks.
be very cold, very wet, and hard to get through.
Yeah, so that's probably the biggest thing. The other difference was, we'd heard a lot about this, that the PCT was developed to be what they call mule grade or pack grade, where usually, for the most part, it's 10% or less. Now, occasionally, we had some that were a little bit higher than that, but for the most part, the elevation grades were around 10%, and then certainly in the beginning, probably all the way up through Oregon?
Yeah, I think the average was really more probably around 7.
Yeah.
But yeah, the high end would be 10%.
Yeah. And then just the tread or the footpath, again, probably up through maybe, Oregon, or certainly Washington became more like the AT with rocks and roots and stuff. And Oregon was more of an issue just because of some of the burn areas and the blowdowns that were happening as a result of that.
You can't have a mule grade when, maybe the right grade, but with all the blowdowns, you can't.
But the first part, and certainly through the desert and stuff, was just like, oh my gosh, this is incredible.
Yeah.
On the AT, it's very rare that you would have more than maybe 2 to 3 miles of an area that's flat or slight up or slight down. You're usually going up or down.
Yeah.
And whereas here was a lot of just smooth, the trail was nice. There wasn't a lot of rocks or roots in it.
Yeah, you might do 7% grade for 8 miles, 9 miles, but it's not killing you.
Yeah.
It's not killing
And then, on the AT, when you get up into the New England area and you're doing a lot of rock scrambles, certainly New Hampshire, where you're doing some hand over hand, or what we used to call controlled falling, where you're holding onto a tree to try to help you down so you don't fall.
Don't fall in the waterfall that the trail's kind of following.
So just a lot of differences. The other big difference is, again, you're out in the open a lot on the PCT, except when you get into the Washington part. And so with that, it's beautiful in the sense that you can see long range views and all that. On the negative side of that is you're more susceptible to the elements. The sun, the wind. There's not a lot of protection. Whereas once you get into Washington or you're on the AT, you've got the forest, you've got some things that can help protect you from the wind and from the sun and all that.
And then on the AT, a huge contrast is the AT is much more. It's closer to civilization. There's more access points on and off, and also throughout most of the trail, there's shelters and privies along the way, and in some places bear boxes and bear cables. So you have a lot more access to getting out of the elements on the AT, because if there is a whole lot of rain and stuff like that, you might be near a shelter, so you can hole up in a shelter and get out of the rain and things like that. And you got a place, you don't have to dig as many cat holes and stuff. But conversely, it's a bit more crowded than the PCT. Whereas on the PCT, you're digging cat holes, you don't have shelters, you don't have bear boxes and stuff. So
but with that, the other side is, I would say the AT is a little bit more social, from the standpoint that there are those gathering spots. You have shelters where a lot of people will gather, whether just to use the picnic tables or maybe stay in the shelter or use a privy or camp near there. And then lots of hostels along the way. So there's a lot of grouping of people that you run into a lot of people as you're going along. And although we ran into quite a few on the PCT, it wasn't as clumped as what you would see on the AT.
It wasn't, the frequency of it wasn't as great as on the AT, but you still had that same experience on the PCT, but not with the same level of frequency. Between towns and trailheads and stuff like that, you'll find that people seem to get a little bit more spread out, and it's evidenced by, you look at far out, you'll see all the locations where people are camping, and it's enough for 2 or 3 tents here, maybe 5 tents there, as opposed to on the AT, you would have these shelters where you would have these clumps a lot more frequently of hikers.
So good and bad aspects in that. So I don't know if I wouldn't say I've got a favorite. I would say they're both unique in their own ways that make them special.
And they both have difficult challenges that you have to deal with, and they're different.
Yeah, definitely different. And, before we had gone, we had met some people that had hiked both, and what they told us was that you'll find hiking the PCT is easier, but logistics are harder. As far as resupply and that whole thing Joe just talked about, the PCT is not. You don't have as many town crossings and stuff as you do on the AT. It's a little more difficult to plan out your resupply. But with that said, I think it worked out okay for us. With resupply.
We did.
It was a lot better than I thought. I kind of went into it thinking, oh, this is going to be difficult. But
it didn't turn out to be. We found it was a lot easier to get to towns than we thought it would be, because of the part of that's Hazel and her trail. Her social media presence, finding rides for us and things. But hitchhiking was really not much of a problem, and getting rides from Trail Angels, it worked out pretty well. And
I think we hitched maybe 2 or 3 times.
Oh yeah,
maybe that's about it. The rest of it was Trail Angels, an occasional shuttle. But
I think it was 4, maybe 4 or 5 times.
4 or 5 times.
As I sit here and think about it, that we did.
More so than we did on the AT, but Anyways, so again, just getting back to that part, it just amazed me how many people were willing to help us out. Help out hikers.
And then I think one other difference between the PCT and the ACT or AT is the elevation at which you're hiking. Because
Right.
when you're the highest point on the AT is I think 6,200 feet or something like that down in Tennessee, and you spend a lot of time maybe around 5,000. But on the PCT, you spend a lot of time 6, 7, 8, 10. Especially when you get up in the Sierra, and it is definitely requires that acclimation to the altitude.
Right.
So that's just, but it's, you get it figured out. It's not, it's hard, but
Yeah.
it's all doable.
Yeah. But I know there were some people that had some altitude sickness because of that. You do, like Joe said, you're up on those higher elevations, and I know personally for me, as we were first getting up into some of those, I could feel it, man. Yeah. And you were talking about the peace. You were talking about how peaceful the Sierras are. Well, it is, as long as you're not hearing yourself and others breathing,
panting like crazy,
and gasping for breath. Yeah. I think you probably saw a lot of videos like that where you'd hear us just panting and oh god. So I guess that leads to, I don't know, anything else about?
No, I think that's good. Now we need to figure out what's next.
Yeah, so that leads to the question of what's next. What's next?
What's next? Well,
Besides lunch.
we're going to do lunch as soon as we're done with the video. So that guaranteed this can't go on much longer.
The stomach's growling. That's why they call me Rumbles.
We'd love to. I know I'd love to get the trail completed. I'm just going to see what comes this next year. It really depends upon family and the things that I have going on that front, and if Nikki will let me do it, and if it's not going to work from her perspective, I'm not going to go. But I would like to finish up that trail this next year. But also, we're already jonesing to get back out and do some section hikes and things. So definitely. For me, I want to get some more section hikes done back on the AT, and we thought about it. Well, if we're going to do those, we're going to video them too.
Yeah.
Put them out there on YouTube just to let y'all see a little bit of what's going on in our own backyard out here.
Yeah. And I think for me, I kind of feel the same way, that I really would like to be able to go back and finish the miles that we missed, just to put some closure to it. Plus, I'd like to be able to see something like we talked about the Sierras. I'd love to go back into them when there's not snow. In fact, again,
there actually are lakes up there.
No,
there
I've
are.
heard that.
Yes.
But yeah, it's interesting as you look at some of the videos that people were putting out after, maybe in August, September timeframe, and I saw one of like Mather Pass. Like, that can't be the same place. I mean, there's no snow or just a few snow patches, but there was like a dirt trail.
There's dirt trail and
little zigzag, switchbacks going. I was like, oh my goodness.
Our buddies Lance and Robin have both been up there multiple times since we've gone. They're up there right now, as a matter of fact. But some of the videos that they showed us are going over passes, and there's, it's like there's trail and stuff. But then he's also showing us well, there is trail until there was a landslide. Now there's a boulder field covering where the trail used to be. So. But it'd be great to see lakes and maybe get a fishing license and
I'd be
wet
really,
a line up there.
I'd really be interested in doing that. Again, when we went through, we didn't really see a full lake until I think we got to South Lake at Bishop Pass. Everything else was frozen. You saw little glimpses of the lake. In fact, again, we talked about at one point we're walking. It's like, guys, I think we're walking on a lake right now. I'm sure we should be doing this. So anyways, I would like to go back and kind of experience that. Again, we got that experience of what it looks like in the snow and things it took to do that. I'd now like to go and just see what it looks like in a non-snow environment. So I don't know. We'll see how it unfolds. Again, there's so many things coming into play from a family perspective, and we'll just have to see what works out this next year. I'd like to get it done next year, but like Joe said, I'd also like to do some other section hikes. I'd like to I don't know if I've got another through hike in my near future, but I'd like to do maybe some smaller through hikes. Maybe do Pinhoti or do Bent Mackay,
or Colorado Trail, or Tahoe Rim Trail,
right?
Yeah.
Some that
Camino del Santiago.
Yeah. That would be nice. Yeah.
Walk from hostel to hostel.
That's right. Yeah, I could do that. I could do that well. But yeah, I definitely am. I'm ready to get back out. We're sitting here at a local park and just seeing all the colors and the trees and stuff. I'd be loved to just walking and camping and doing all that stuff. Once it's in your blood, you can't get it.
Yeah, especially in North Georgia this time of year. So we're like second week in October right now, and then the next few weeks is the air tends to dry out a little bit and get some great. It's a great time for backpacking.
Yeah, it is. All right, well, I think we'll cut it there. Maybe do some lunch.
I think we ought to go get some lunch.
I think we should.
Great, that was a great journey. Buddy.
Well, again, guys, thank you so much for following along. We have just been amazed, just with, again, the outpouring of support that we had, the number of people, again, that came up to us and would talk to us, and particularly an older crowd. It's kind of interesting. A lot of folks that were watching our videos are older crowd, and just the comments of, hey guys, just seeing you out there doing it lets me know that we can do this at an older age.
Mm-hmm.
And it was inspiring to us, just standpoint, particularly in times where it's like, oh man, I'm ready to be done, and then people saying, yeah, you're doing great. I can't believe that y'all are out there doing this. And be like, yeah, you're right. We need to take advantage of this as long as we can. Joe made a lot of comments along the way that as we would see something beautiful, or we just went through a tough day, but we get to something, you're like, I don't know if we'll ever pass this way again.
Yeah.
And it's, I always remember that, just kind of looking at things. And again, one of the reasons for doing our videos has always been for us to go back and look at them. I enjoy going back and saying, oh yeah, I remember that. Or, it gives us a little bit of glimpse.
Yeah.
Never puts you exactly in that, what we were feeling at that moment, but it at least gives you a very good glimpse.
Get you close to feeling that moment again. Yeah.
And I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Yeah.
So for anybody out there that's, wanting to get into hiking, go do it. Even if it's a couple of miles or whatever, go see some beauty that you're not going to see sitting on the couch, or you're not going to see even watching our videos.
Yeah. If you want it, go get it, because for us, especially 15, 20 years from now, what we wouldn't give to be back in those moments and be able to do that again. So go out and get it while you can, because you don't know what's coming your way. And like to reiterate what Dave was talking about, thank you for watching, and thank you for all the inspiration that you've given us with your comments and feedback and things, because it's really it's touched us more than we could ever imagine. We just didn't expect that type of response from people watching our videos. So thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. We all take care, and we will talk to you all soon.
And happy trails, happy trails, happy trails.
Happy trails, y'all.
So hey y'all, we said we were done, but guess what?
We're not done.
We forgot there was one other item we wanted to cover, where we were going to be stealing shamelessly from Marmalade Mike. Thank you, Marmalade.
Thank you.
We enjoyed hiking with you.
We did. We purposely didn't mention you before just because we were going to rub it in.
And we wanted to steal your ideas.
Yeah.
Which is Q&A. So what we would like is, as you watch our wrap-up video, any questions or things that you really want us to jump into a little bit more detail, throw them into the comments, and then we'll just find some time later on to do a Q&A video to answer any of the things that you guys want to know about that we didn't cover in our earlier videos or in the wrap-up.
Yeah. Please do that, and we will put that out as soon as we get a good list of questions.
Yeah.
So, all right, take care, y'all.
All right. Happy trails.